We're gonna focus on saddle. I kind of want to go through like all the different positions there are in saddle, because it's not just my left leg is going over the right. That's really important. I see a lot of people, they start and they put their right leg over the right. That would be incorrect. Left leg over the right leg. Now, the names. The popular one is like cross ashi, because her foot goes from one side of my body to the other. So this would be like cross ashi. There's also honey hole, saddle, 411. It just depends on where you're from. Now, with your feet position, you can go foot to foot. You can do like your inside sakaku where you have a triangle, or you have like a low triangle here, right? Now, let's see. So there's quite a few different variations. So this is standard saddle, right? If she has her butt up and I can pass my right foot underneath, this is a shoelace saddle, right? So my right foot is on her far side hip and I'm figure forward. The reason why this is good is because I'm controlling her hip line. So it's a lot harder for her to hide her heel. So I can use my knee to stop her from rolling and to keep this heel exposed, right? So this is our shoelace ashi, right? Let's take the foot out. We have the far hip ashi. So that could be with one foot, like this. It can be with 2 feet. Now, why is this one really good? So when I have the heel hook, obviously she can roll this way to unwind. Now, if I control the far side hip, there's no more rolling that she can do. I could extend and I could finish it before, and obviously like this would be good too, right? So that would be a far hip. The other ones that we have would be crisscross. So crisscross means I can either have my inside leg under, or I can have it over. Now, why would you not go over? Because she can go for inside heel hook here, because my foot is exposed. And although she could cross her feet, and she could finish 100%. So that's why it's always safer to go crisscross like this. Now my heel is tighter towards her hip, so when she goes to expose, it's gonna be very difficult. And crisscross ashi is really good because it also stops, one, the escape. So when she starts to push, right, I have a good bite on that hip. And also when she tries to hide her heel like that, I'm gonna be flaring open my knee. Go ahead and hide your heel. And I keep the heel exposed. So that's why we have that there. So again, we have our standard saddle, right? And maybe I'm doing straight ankle and she like elevates her hips up to defend. I could figure 4 and drop. Now we have our shoelace. So my right foot is behind her hip line, right? And come up. We have the far hip, 1 or 2. And that stops her from rolling out when we're going for heel hook. Or I can go for my crisscross. I have my top side, which is a little bit risky because my heel is exposed, and especially if I'm here, right? She has that. But if I'm controlling, this is still a good exposure to expose the heel. Or I have my bottom side here. Now this is the safer option, and this prevents her from hiding her heel. When she tries to hide the heel or push my knee and hide the heel, I should be able to keep it open and exposed. So let's just practice those positions, and then we're gonna practice our double trouble, and then we're gonna get into more detail on control and stuff like that. All right, any questions on the position? All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, now we have our double troubles. Double trouble means that we are controlling the secondary leg. This is our primary leg because we're going for like our attacks. This is our secondary. Because when you are in a saddle, any leg entanglement, they need their secondary leg to escape, right? So she'll do the standard escape where you're pushing. So she's using that to post, pulling all the way. Yeah. She's using that foot, right? So come back. So if I can control this leg, it makes it easier for me to get the heel. And then by the time she's trying to escape, she doesn't have enough time. So double trouble means I could be controlling it like this. I don't like this version very often, but it is an option, right? Where you're crossing your feet over, because now she has to free this foot in order to escape the heel hook, right? And she can't roll. But more Traditional would be like straight ankle position, right? This would be double trouble, where you have your leg lace, your straight ankles, your Aoki locks here. You have your shelf here. So now what that does, it allows me to start to expose this heel, and then when I'm ready, now I can get the break before she gets her leg back. So this would be the shelf. The other side is the far side hip, far hip, double trouble. Now I can keep this and then start to expose, and now I can break before she can get that leg back to escape. So anytime you can threaten this secondary leg before, it's going to be a lot easier. Same thing, I could have an underside grip and then start to expose, and then when I'm good, I can go. So again, you have your standard. You can do all attacks on this side leg, or you can use this to expose the primary leg. You have your shelf here. Same thing, where I'm tilting, exposing that, and then going. Or I have my far hip, where I'm controlling. This is definitely really good control, because it takes a lot for her to get her leg out of this configuration. And then I can also have this and then go for the finish before she could even get this leg out of this pocket. So you have your standard, your shelf, your far hip, right? And then you also have your leg trap, which I don't do very often, but it is an option. Okay, so let's go ahead with your partner, go through all 4 variations of those double trouble, and then we'll focus on control. So let's talk about control. When I'm in saddle, the biggest threat you have is her free secondary leg, and she starts pushing to hide the heel, and then she starts slipping out her leg, right? That would be ultimately the easiest one. Or she just pushes it and slides her foot straight out. So how do we control if we don't have the secondary leg? Because you're gonna have to know that. So one thing is, if there's a bend in her leg, it makes it much harder for her to slip out her knee. So anytime you can create a bend, and I'll show you different ways to create a bend. One way, you're controlling the knee here, like this, and you're just controlling. So just keeping this figure 4 here, and then I'm pulling the knee towards me, and I can come over the top. Even without going for the attack, this is really good control. If I allow her foot to go completely free where she straightens it out, and then she can start to push, it's gonna be easy for her to extract. So you can keep the bend like this, which means is you can have your hand on the ankle, and you can be pulling the knee like this, and I'm figure 4. The other way for control is utilizing your legs. So if I have foot to foot, I don't have a really good control over her knee. She can still extract her leg, right? If I do a figure 4, this is perfectly fine too. I like to go right here in this position. So let's say that I can't keep the bend. I'm going to stomp down with my left leg and bring my right leg up like this, and then I pinch. Now when she tries to push, I should have a really strong bite, like a scissor bite onto her leg, right? The third option would be, this is my favorite, I'm gonna create the bend, and I'm gonna put my elbow on her ankle, like this, and I use my hip, like that. So now what happens is my foot is locked in, my right foot is doing nothing. I can have my foot out here, is doing nothing. And I'm using my elbow and my hip, like this. Now it's like when she tries to extract her foot, she won't be able to. When she tries to spin out, she won't be able to. I have really good control over this, and now I can start to come and start to expose the heel. Okay, the other one is underhook. Underhook with the leg. So anytime I can underhook and I can scoot in, now I have a really tight control position on her, and now it's hard for her to go ahead and push and escape. There's no shot. And then her heel can be exposed. I can pull this out and go, right? So again, you have the overhook with the knee, controlling. You have the scissoring with the legs. You have your elbow, or you have your underhook, like this. And maybe it could be easier where it's like overhook knee, underhook knee. That would have been smarter. Underhook knee. You have your elbow. And I think that's it. All right. Sure. So what I'm doing with the scissor is I don't want to be here. I don't want to be across. I want to have a little bit bite, a better bite, where I'm kind of in a low figure four, not a high. My right leg is going to pull up. My left leg is going to stomp down like that. So I'm creating a shearing motion on her thigh to kind of lock in her leg while I'm pinching. So I'm here, I'm shearing it like this, and then I'm pinching. So now it's like, even if her leg straightens out, I don't worry about losing that leg. Go ahead and push. Yeah, there's no shot. Okay. Any questions on this? Yes, Lucas.
Mix and match some of those, like go like an overhook and an underhook with the other arm.
Yeah, so you're saying like here and here, or like even this. You could mix and match. Just make sure that if you do this one here, you want to make sure that you're blocking the hip and you have this. And any other orientation is perfectly fine. Have an overhook, that's fine. It'll be a little bit harder when you're here because I don't have my foot near her hip line, right? I want my foot to be right next to her hip, so then I can put pressure onto her leg like this. And I'll show you once we kind of come back. So again, we have overhook, we have underhook, we have our scissoring, and then we have the block, the ankle. Okay, all right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this will be the last one. We're gonna focus on the heel exposure and finishing. So, very similar to what we did, right? If I have this back of the knee, I can rotate my whole hips to my left to expose that heel, right? Here. If I have the hook here, where I have the nice bend, I can reach for that heel, right? Whenever we're finishing heel hooks, it's always better to have the leg bent to start, and then we open up, right? Because if I go straight, and it's easy for her to extract right away. So that's why it's always better to have a bend when you catch, and then we start opening up her leg to finish. Right, that's why we're always bridging and stuff like that. The other option is just standard heel exposure, where we're here and I'm catching. And remember, if you haven't done a heel hook before, you want to make sure that you put her toes into your armpit. I pull back. I'm going to shelf this like I'm wearing a watch, and I'm pulling up my wrist. If my wrist is weak like this, where it's flat, now there's space for her to point her toe and to slip the heel. So I need to make sure that I'm pulling back, shelving like this. Now I'm going palm to palm, and then I put torque onto the knee to stretch out the ligament. And once I feel like it's really far out, I bring my hands to my belly button like this. So basically we're trying to either snap the LCL or the MCL, right? The other option is if she's hiding her heel, I can come up to my knees and then expose the heel and then finish it there. Or I could roll all the way through, capture, and then get to that same thing. So again, we have the bend, I'm rotating through, and I'm capturing. You have the underhook where you're coming in, and now you're gonna go. You have your reach to finish, or she's bending and I can come up and I can either capture that one here, or as she's rotating through, I capture it as I'm falling, and then I go. So, same thing. Here, rotate, here, under, and capture. I can reach and go for it, or she's hiding, I can come up to my knees and I can reach for the heel hook here and then finish it here. Okay, so heel exposure to heel hook finish. And if you have not done a heel hook before, you don't wait for it to hurt. It never hurts. It gets tight and then it snaps. So you'll feel like tight, 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 and that's probably plenty. You guys can play with it a little bit. All right, 1, 2, 3.